right now, as we see today in week 7, the Chiefs are the best team in football by a mile. Like, it's not close. And it's in large part because, contrary to seemingly popular belief in large parts of the last 3 years, they clearly and obviously had the best quarterback in football. And we could show you what he did against the Raiders yesterday, Patrick Mahomes. 3 touchdowns, no picks, 74.5% completion, 286 passing, a $126 passer rating, QBR 0 to 100 of 89, and Patrick Mahomes was sitting on the bench with a baseball cap toward the end of the third quarter. It was the Chiefs won this game 31-0. It was not as close as the score would indicate. Like, this felt like kind of it was the two oldest coaches in the league, Pete Carroll for the Raiders, Andy Reid for the Chiefs. This felt like Andy doesn't want to embarrass Pete. Like, there's mutual respect there. Andy Reid's certainly a Hall of Famer. Pete might be. Like, these are old, legendary, I should say old, that's disrespectful. Older, legendary coaches. Andy doesn't want to embarrass Pete. Like, and I respect Andy for that. But this team's absolutely rolling. So they get Rashee Rice back yesterday, who obviously missed all but the first 4 games of last year because of an ACL, missed the first 6 games this year because of a suspension for the driving incident that we talked about in the show. Inexcusable error on the part of Rashee Rice, and hopefully he grows as a person because of it. But Rashee Rice back in the lineup. Xavier Worthy, who's been back since week 4, and since Xavier Worthy came back in the lineup, the Chiefs have yet to score under 30. Hollywood Brown's a good receiver, and Juju Smith is there. And, oh, by the way, Travis Kelce, who this year, to his credit, Travis Kelce would appear has, and he's even talked about this on his podcast with his brother Jason, that he's putting more, attention and effort into his body, into football stuff this offseason as opposed to last offseason. Listen, when you're dating the most famous one in the world, you're working on choreographed skits and dances at the Aero Store. It's a lot. I get it. It takes up a lot of your time. I don't knock Travis for it. He was a 2-time defending champion at the time. But this year, he didn't like how he played last year, didn't like, what he put in the field. He's getting older, but clearly is in better shape this year. Feels like he's got a little bit more burst this year. And now with this offense, which they ran for over 100 yards yesterday, which I feels like some of that is just the Raiders are awful. But if this team can get a running game, O-line's fixed. They're good. Their O-line has been an issue, especially last year. They're kind of running out of multiple different combinations. They had to put Joe Tooney at left tackle, and it was a disaster, as we saw obviously in the Super Bowl against Philadelphia. And even throughout the regular season, Mahomes was under duress a lot. Now Mahomes got all day to throw. Now Rashee Rice is there, and he had 2 touchdowns yesterday. And now Xavier Worthy's your deep threat. And now you got Hollywood Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster, and Tyquan Thornton, by the way, can catch a long ball, which he did yesterday. And you've got one of the greatest tight ends of all time and the greatest postseason pass catcher ever in Travis Kelce catching passes, and you're pretty much unstoppable. There's no two ways about it. Now this defense is rolling. Chris Jones and Karlaftis and the defensive backfield with the likes of Trent McDuffie. This team, I don't think they're going to lose more than 1 game the rest of the year. I really don't. And that game might come against Buffalo, who always beats Kansas City in the regular season. That game is in Buffalo, so wouldn't be shocked if the Bills beat them again, 5th year in a row in the regular season before the Chiefs break their heart in the playoffs again. It could be against Denver. Right? I don't think they played Denver this year. They could give them problems. My guess is they don't get swept by the Chargers. They're going to sweep the Raiders. It's a first-place schedule. They're playing tough teams. Indianapolis could get them, although that game is an Arrowhead, so I have my doubts. I predicted Kansas City to go 13-4 in the regular season, and I feel about as good about that as ever. They're not losing more than 1 game the rest of the way. Patrick Mahomes is playing MVP football. The deep ball finally in Kansas City is back because their receiving core is healthy. Deep ball didn't work in 2023 because receivers couldn't catch a cold. Remember Marquez Valdez-Scantling and oh my gosh, what's the guy's name? Who Kadarius Toney, those drop passes. Then last year, drops were a problem. Health was a problem. They had to trade for DeAndre Hopkins mid-year. Hollywood Brown missed most of the season. Xavier Worthy, it took him a while to kind of come into his own. Rashee Rice blew his ACL in the first month of the year. Kelce wasn't in the best shape. Didn't work. Now, a team that obviously we know is great at winning close games has a better O-line, has one of the best, all of a sudden, one of the best wide receivers and receiving cores in football, certainly one of the deepest ones. If they make a move at the deadline to improve the running game, it's over. Like, it is a foregone conclusion. Knock on wood, 15's healthy. They're winning the AFC, which, they've done 5 of the last 6 years and 3 years in a row. I mean, it's a foregone conclusion if Mahomes is healthy that they're in the AFC title game because, they always are. But listen, people tell me, well, I mean, it's today, the Chiefs wouldn't be in the playoffs. Well, good thing the season doesn't end in October, because if you look at the odds, Vegas knows that, because they've got Kansas City as the favorites to win the conference, win the Super Bowl. Mahomes is the favorite to win MVP, and he's also the favorite to win Super Bowl MVP. So as I said last week, those that had your Kermit memes and your, hey, they're dead, they're 0-2, it's over, the Chiefs dynasty, at least for 2025, is a wrap. That was obviously, and I said it on the show at the time, an idiotic opinion to have. You know, again, shout out to Nick Wright, who's like a diehard Chiefs fan. He talks about unallowable opinions. Like there's certain, and I would almost interpret that as there's certain things, if you want to maintain credibility, you can't say and hope to maintain it. For example, like I'm a big fan of presidential history. If somebody said that, who's a good example? Okay. If somebody said, you know what? Martin Van Buren's the greatest president in American history. Okay, get this person out of the room. Let's have serious conversations. It's Lincoln, who is the GOAT, by the way. Lincoln is the GOAT. Or it's Washington, or it's either the Roosevelt or Eisenhower. Or maybe someone might slide Jefferson in there. It's not Martin Van Buren. Like it's that's a ridiculous take to have if you want to maintain integrity. It was a ridiculous opinion. Absurd, dumb, stupid. If you actually thought that the Chiefs, whose whole offense was beat up the first 2 weeks of the season, that once those guys came back, they were going to be rolling. And by the way, forget the fact that the receiving core is loaded. Forget the fact that they fixed the offensive line in the offseason. Forget that Andy Reid's the best coach in football. Mahomes is the best quarterback in football. And Spags is arguably the best defensive coordinator in football. They're playing with something that they ain't played with in a while. Particularly their quarterback, Mahomes. People thought we were cooked before the year. People thought, Denver's winning the division, or the Chargers win the division, or it's Buffalo's year, even though they never beat us, or it's Baltimore with their underachieving playoff quarterback Lamar Jackson. Great in the regular season, not so much in the postseason. They've got us. Oh, really? Haven't we made 5 of the last 6 Super Bowls? That's us, right? Listen, we got trounced by Philadelphia, and you won't find a Chief that will make it a single excuse for that. Hey, they got trounced. But I felt like people used that as an excuse to say, they're cooked. It's over. You had folks at credible news organizations, sports news organizations, writing columns, saying on their talk shows or on their radio shows or their podcast that like this was over. Like, okay, the Chiefs dynasty is falling apart. Like it is, they didn't invest in the right receiver core. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. So you don't believe in Brett Veach, the GM? You don't believe in Andy Reid, the coach, or Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback? And the roster they've already got? Please. Longest 15's healthy. I said it 2 years ago when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl against San Francisco. When that was the year to get Kansas City. The drops, they were 11-6. They had to win 2 playoff games on the road. They were playing a much better Niners team in the Super Bowl. I will bet against Patrick Mahomes I won't bet against Patrick Mahomes until he gives me a reason to. Sorry, won't do it. I refuse. So yeah, hope you had your fun early in the season because they are all the way back. By the way, and this feels mean. Shout out to my man Chris Mahi, who runs the Edge, who runs the radio station that broadcasts my radio show, which you can check out, the Bryson Carver Show, anywhere. I should say anywhere you get your podcast. It's on the TuneIn app. I put the link to it every show. Mondays from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern, and then Fridays from noon to 2 Eastern. Chris is a good friend of mine, runs the radio station. This feels mean. He's a diehard Raiders fan. Show the graphic. Patrick Mahomes is like literally the Vegas Raiders father. You are the father of the Raiders, is Patrick Mahomes. 38 touchdowns, 5 picks, 66% completion percentage, 295 pass yards per game, which is crazy. 107.7 rating and a 13-2 record is Patrick Mahomes against the Las Vegas Raiders. He owns the guys. There's no other way to put it. He owns them. You know how you know the Kansas City Chiefs are like totally back? Now they're just screwing with teams. Now they're messing with people. For those that didn't see it, I'm sure you have, but for those that didn't, first half, the Kansas City Chiefs have a 4th and 1 at their own, what were they, at the 45-ish yard line? They were in their own territory. It was a 4th and 1. They went for it. You should go for it, and they did. It didn't look like they're going to initially. Looks like they're just going to try and get the Raiders to jump, which I don't know why teams do that. That never works. 4th and 1, like if you're in your own territory or in, a 4th down and 1, they're not jumping. Unless it's the tush push in Philadelphia, they're not jumping. Well, Mahomes is trying to get him to jump, and then he's like, this effing play never effing works. We'll show you the audio and then show you what Mahomes said about it after the game. But this is what happens with Patrick Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs, going for it on 4th and 1 and screwing with the Raiders and everybody.
Tried to draw him offside. Sorry. Mahomes says, Coach, it doesn't
Oh, there they go.
he was faking it.
There they go.
Got you.
I think it comes from all my State Farm commercials. No, I'm joking. The Nags actually came up with the idea. We had talked about doing the hard count, trying to draw the teams off sides. I can't remember who I watched do it a couple of years ago, and they had said that, and so I was like, I'm going to use that as part of my acting to try to get the defense just to relax a little bit. But at the end of the day, we still got to go get it. And I thought the offensive line did a great job of driving off the ball, and then Kareem in those situations is money.
Patrick is a decent actor in those State Farm commercials with Jake. I will say real quick, the Trey Smith commercials, love that. Go Trey Smith, volunteer, volunteer for life. Steal the draft back in 2021, I guess is when they got him, because he had some medical issues at Tennessee. But God, what a steal! Now, by the way, highest paid guard in the NFL. So shout out to Trey Smith. But yeah, that was hilarious. Now, it's not like now they're messing with teams. Remember, funny, it was against the Raiders too, Week 18, 2022, when they did the ring around the Rosie play, which I think got called back due to penalty actually. But remember, they were doing the ring around the Rosie before they went to the line of scrimmage. Like, this team's screwing with people, and that's when they didn't do that the last 2 years. That's when blank, they're about to reel off a lot of W's. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.